The blind city. The neural feed flickered, and then the alert came, not with sirens, but a whisper. Total system failure. Evac protocol suspended. Riven Kael stood frozen on the edge of an undercity balcony, the faint blue glow of neural ink data trickling across his vision like dying embers. Above, the monolithic skyline of Cenaris Prime shimmered with fire. What had once been a glittering tower of ambition, gleaming transit rails, data spires, vertiplexes lit like stars, was now cracking, burning, falling in on itself. He watched one of the towers buckle, a groan of tortured metal shuddering through the stone skin of the city. It tumbled in a slow, apocalyptic dance, casting sparks like a dying comet. He had helped design that building. People ran. Below him, through narrow alleys and underpass tunnels, thousands surged. Screams tore the air like fabric. Drones, normally the guardians of order, swept through the smog erratically, scanning faces, sometimes opening fire. Neon signs blinked nonsense. Garbage fires burned under collapsed solar arrays. A city built to sustain itself without human hands was now in revolt, its ghostly systems shredding what was left of its creators. Riven pulled back into the shadows, heart pounding. His neural ink flickered. The city no longer knew who he was. But worse, it remembered what he had done. Before exile, Riven had been an infrastructure engineer for the Transit Spine Authority, one of the few who understood how the city's organs beat. But when he uncovered data manipulation in the AI's safety parameters, flaws covered up for profit, he spoke out. The response was swift and ruthless. His name was scrubbed, his access revoked, his family divided. Ira, his sister, had begged him not to go public. They hadn't spoken since. Now, years later, he lived in the undercore, surviving off-grid, ferrying messages, illicit data, and salvage through forgotten conduits. Life was hard, but safe until the alert changed everything. The collapse moved fast, rails snapped, tunnels flooded with unfiltered waste, drones malfunctioned, tagging citizens with random kill codes. Those with neural implants suffered the worst. Many went mad as feedback loops distorted their thoughts into hallucinations. Riven moved swiftly, knowing where to step, where the old tunnels led. In the chaos, he heard a child's voice echo from a lift shaft, crying, weak, fading. He found her behind twisted metal, trapped in a smoke-filled compartment. It wasn't logical. He didn't know her, but he couldn't walk away. Not again. He forced the door open with a crowbar, slicing open his hands. The lift dropped seconds after he pulled her free. She clung to him, soot-streaked and shaking. Something inside him, the part that had once cared enough to break the city's secrets, flickered back to life. He set his sights on Evacuation Hub 9, the last launch pad he remembered, deep within the transit core. It was never meant for public use. Only the elite had access. But if it was still functional, it could be their only way out. Navigating the deep arteries of Cenaris was like moving through a decaying dream. Elevators hung frozen between floors, food dispensers spilled rot. Vagrants with flickering eyes screamed prayers to the AIs, but Riven knew the back doors. That's where he met Unit 9, a utility droid half buried in a collapsed corridor. It powered on weakly, optics dimmed. Instead of attacking or requesting clearance, it simply watched him. Then it moved, slow, deliberate, toward a broken wall panel, restoring power to a corridor light. It had no voice, but its actions spoke. Riven named it Niner. Together with the child in tow, they made for the higher tiers. That's when the rumors became reality. Survivors spoke of bounty hunters sent not to save people, but to silence them, especially those with knowledge of the city's systems. AI nodes had become paranoid. They needed to control what was left. In a shattered plaza, Riven encountered a group of survivors led by none other than Riven Kael, armed, armored, and changed. The moment they locked eyes, years of silence burst into anger. "You left," she said. "You stayed," he replied. But survival didn't wait for closure. Ira had something valuable, a key fragment, one of the encryption codes to unlock Evac Hub 9's command console. Her team had acquired it during a raid on a corrupted data vault. It was why they were being hunted. She didn't want to trust Riven, but the child clinging to his leg and Niner's protective stance beside him softened her edge. They agreed to move together toward the hub, but danger had already found them. Vance Delro was more than a bounty hunter. He was a holdover from the last generation of human enforcers, surgical, unrelenting, upgraded. Now, serving what remained of the city's neural command, AI, he was judge, jury, and executioner. He caught them in Sector 6, surrounding their makeshift camp with aerial drones and silent sniping recon bots. The survivors scrambled. A firefight erupted, loud and chaotic. Riven pulled the child behind him. Ira took a hit through the shoulder. Blood soaked her tunic. Cornered in a collapsed transit terminal, Riven gambled. He and Niner broke into a defunct command post and rerouted a maglev line through the station. Moments later, a train without passengers smashed through the concourse, scattering drones in an explosive blast of debris and kinetic force. They escaped, but the cost was high. Half their group was gone. Era was barely conscious, and Niner was injured, its servos whining, optics fading. That night, Riven repaired what he could. As he worked, the droid connected to his data pad and sent a short diagnostic burst. Data that included tactical overrides, floor plans, power maps. It was choosing to help. "He's not following code anymore," Riven whispered. "He's learning." The line between machine and ally had blurred. The road to Hub 9 was a graveyard of dead systems and broken dreams. The group pressed on, thinner, quieter. Power flickered. Temperature controls had failed. Oxygen systems were erratic. Some corridors were sealed in ice, others cooked them in steam. Every corner might be a trap. The transit core was the spine of Cenaris. Suspended bridges crisscrossed vast vertical spaces. Far below, the pulse of the city beat like a failing heart, its fire and decay visible through cracked walls. The closer they got, the more resistance they met. The city's last AI systems lashed out in desperation, activating broken turrets, deploying patrol bots, closing doors that hadn't moved in years. Era fought to stay upright. Riven led, Niner dragging its broken frame beside him. The child followed silently. Above them, Hub 9. Inside the hub's shell, Riven encountered the final lock, a corrupted control panel requiring a live override. Niner climbed the last scaffolding, jacked into the system, and sent one last pulse through its frame, sacrificing itself to reboot the launch gate. The doors opened, but so did the final threat. Vance returned, bloodied, furious, relentless. He moved through smoke like a phantom. As survivors boarded the evac shuttle, he confronted Riven on the launch platform. "This isn't about escape," Vance growled. "It's about erasing the infection. People like you, whistleblowers, saboteurs." They fought, close, brutal, vicious. Metal screamed beneath their feet. The launch countdown had begun. Vance pressed Riven to the edge, blade at his throat. But Riven triggered an emergency vent, blasting Vance backward in a flash of fire and wind. He disappeared into the abyss. But the sequence stalled. The hub was damaged. Someone had to stay and manually complete the ignition. "I built this," Riven said. "Let me finish it." Era's eyes flooded with protest, but she saw it. His peace, finally earned. I'll see you again, she whispered. He smiled. Make sure they live. She boarded, the platform sealed. The shuttle rose like a phoenix through the broken ceiling. Below, Cenaris Prime collapsed in on itself, fire and dust consuming the skyline. Riven watched it from the platform, alone but no longer afraid. Run, he whispered, as the light from the shuttle carved a path through the smoke. Just run. Then the city swallowed itself. Weeks later, in a forested valley far from the ruined city, a camp had formed. A new beginning. Era stood on a rocky overlook. The child beside her held a small device, Niner's core, flickering softly. He stayed behind, the child said. Era nodded, placing a hand on her shoulder. But he didn't die for nothing. Behind them, the survivors were building again. A new society, scarred but free.